Hi, everyone. Welcome to Office Hours. If this is the first time that you're here, it's good to have you here. You might see a little thing down below, and what you got to do is click on that little link. It'll take you into Zoom, and from Zoom, you can click on the little link, and it'll take you to Mukana, and that's where you can ask questions and vote on questions and also chat with everyone. So we'd love to have you as part of that conversation. If you feel like you're watching this and you think that you could contribute something to the conversation, we would love to have you. And all you have to do is get here a little early. We do the mic checks at 6:40 in the morning, 6:43 to be precise, but around 6:40. We also put out a Discord link. A lot of people ask about when can I get the Discord link? Turns out it's 6:40. At 6:43, we do the mic checks. If you're not here by the time we start the mic checks, you need to come another day. But if you want to get here and you want a little extra time to work on your video setup, work on your audio setup, just get here early. We open the doors at 6 o'clock a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and that's really a great time. We just chit chat. But if you come in and you want to work on your rig or you want to figure things out, how to sound better or look better, the best time to come is 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. At 7 o'clock, we start the general conversation. This is all run by you, so we don't have any agenda. The agenda is what the participants ask and what you all vote on. So figure that out. Think about it every day, all day. I think all day. I think that'd be the right way to do it. Anyway, write those down somewhere. When things pop up that you're not quite sure of, just write them down somewhere and then bring them in and ask those questions in Mukana and then vote on the questions that you see there, and then we'll deal with them. Second hour is always something a little special that we think might be worth a deeper conversation. Today we've got Keenan Campbell. He's here in the group, and he is doing truly mobile broadcasting from a truck. So he's going to be here and he's going to show how he's putting this together. I'm pretty excited about that. Tuesday, we're going to do a second thing on comms. We kind of got almost there talking about the design last week and also just starting to talk about etiquette. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that tomorrow, about how to use comms, a little bit more about design, and then also how to use the comms. Wednesday, we're going to talk about telestration. I do this funny thing with my ATEM switcher and draw on video. And so we're going to talk about exactly how to set that up in your ATEM switcher. Thursday, we're going to talk about concerts of the future. We had a great conversation about this in the post show yesterday. That was raging. It was great. So I thought that it'd be worth actually bringing it into the show. So we'll talk about what we think, where we think concerts are going. Friday, speaking of music, the Remotes, our own band, will be debuting their first song. So they're going to talk about that. We're going to play the song for you, the video that's put together, all created by folks in Office Hours. Pretty excited about that. And then Saturday, of course, we have education for an hour in addition to the regular one. ZoomOSC's last week and our first week of Resolve training. Keep looking for emails. We're going to be sending out an email that is the discount link for Ripple training. The folks from Ripple will be here this Saturday to start walking us through Resolve. I think it's important as we start thinking about the opportunities around HDR and vision and so on and so forth that we understand how to use Resolve. So we're going to do a basic training. You can do most of it with the free version of Resolve, so don't be too scared by the price. And but we're going to start that this Saturday. Now, if you want to share this, we'd love to have you share it. Share it with friends, and we'd like to have more people like you join. The bigger this gets, the more fun we have. So, we truly are peer-to-peer learning. We're learning from each other. So as this group gets bigger, we learn faster, and we have more resources available to us of people who can answer our questions, be on our teams, all those things, people that we can hire, people that can hire us, all those things get bigger and bigger and bigger as we share this with other people. So anyway, I'm going to put the link into it. Don't use your own link. Use the link that I put into the here. So anyway, so that's it. Bill, I think we have some questions.
We do have a bunch of questions this morning. So we're starting off from TJ Asher in Minneapolis, Minnesota, who says he needs to remotely control an ATEM Mini Pro to remotely vision mix a show. Needs to be able to see the multi-view from the ATEM. He has 2 Macs on either end. And so how to accomplish this task for less than half an Alex? And he notes have a ATEM Mini Pro on both ends, if that helps any.
Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
So if you have a VPN connection, which I know is coming up on your next question, so we'll leave that one aside, you can use screen sharing between the Macs. So your Mac on the remote end is connected, networked to the ATEM Mini Pro. What you need is the multi-view out. What I use is one of the little Ultra Studio mini recorders that does SDI or HDMI to Thunderbolt, and that's plugged into the Mac, and that allows me to see the multi-view. You can open that up in QuickTime. Or the other thing to do is once you have control of that Mac is start a Zoom session between the two Macs, and that is your video input and can actually be audio input. So it will take program audio into the Zoom session. That's your camera on the remote end. And then you remote control a screen share of that machine, and then you can do everything via Zoom. So once you've opened that, you don't need the VPN anymore because it's happening via Zoom.
Go ahead, Jason.
Apple Remote Desktop will do it if you have time to set it up and punch the right holes in both routers. I'd say in a pinch, one of the most unsung kind of hero things that two Macs will do is if you have iMessage on both and you turn on Remote Desktop on the other, you can actually request control of the screen through iMessage and it will work. This feature used to be called Back to My Mac, and it has since been disintermediated from the stack, but it still exists in iMessage. So that's the way to do it in a pinch.
Go ahead, Felipe.
There's an application that costs about $29 is Jump Desktop. You can get basically 60 frames a second to control the remote desktop. And that's just
What's it
another
called?
alternative there. Jump Desktop.
Jump Desktop. Oh, interesting. Jeffrey?
The only thing that I'll add is if you decide to go the Zoom route and you don't need to actually see the quality of the video, you just need to see the positions of where people are to make a decision whether to switch or not, then to make sure that your Zoom is at its lowest quality setting. That way it comes to you faster and easier.
Yeah, we do this a lot. And for us, we do exactly what it's a hodgepodge of what everyone else is talking about here. We get on a VPN, but you can do port forwarding. We have our switcher software run from locally on our computer. It has the IP of the FAR computer. And so that way we have, it's just on ours. The only thing we see is the video coming in over Zoom. So we don't worry about screen shares. We just want that video pipe put in, and we just pipe that into Zoom. Now we want 1080p if we can get it, so that we can see what we're, see focus and so on and so forth. And we've been doing this more and more over the last couple of years. And for most shows, I can't cut sports that way, and I can't cut some performances that way, but for corporate or education, can absolutely cut remotely as well. No one will know the difference, as long as you have a good internet connection at both ends. So it's a pretty powerful solution, and people have been cutting remote shows, for a decade. So this isn't that, revolutionary, but it is something that really makes, I think we're going to see more and more and more of what we're talking about here. Next question.
And TJ has a follow-up to that one, and he wants a recommendation on a VPN software that works well to connect two Macs and does not cost an Alex, looking closer to a Colin price tag, and maybe Guy can put up the official office hour pricing tier graphic.
Go, Jason.
It's important to note that you really shouldn't be installing third-party VPN anything. VPNs are supported by every modern operating system. My rule in general is if you don't pay for a service, then you are the product. So, do your research. Best way to do it, of course, is site to site, and that can be done for free. So it really just depends on the results that you get if you were to do it in-house. In the past, I've had luck with ProXPN and a few other ephemeral ones, but yeah, nothing really comes to mind as like the all-out best VPN.
Doesn't Ubiquiti, do they still make that little bridge? It seems like it's hard to buy.
Yeah, the Ubiquiti, it's called the Cloud Key, and the second generation of it will absolutely do this. Easier way to do it would be with an edge router, but again, it is not plug and play.
Yeah, I got Nikki.
Yeah, the consumer version of that is called the Teleport, and I don't know if they still sell that the Teleport hardware, but with the simple Ubiquiti standalone routers, you can teleport between those two. So that's a relatively affordable option because the cheaper one, the Amplify Instant, is only $99 US. So, and then you can teleport, if both ends have an Amplify unit, then you can teleport between those.
Right. Next question.
Next question comes to us from John Granby, John Rabel in Granby, UK. Sorry about that. I wish to start learning editing using either DaVinci Resolve 17 Studio or Final Cut Pro. Both programs cost about the same and updates are currently free. As Blackmagic are currently offering their speed editor free and Ripple Training have discounted training for DV Resolve 17, which program to choose?
Go ahead, Sky.
It's, again, if you want to learn French or if you want to learn Japanese, they're both languages, but which is the one that you're going to be able to use for either making a living or creating a piece of content, or if you're going to be collaborating with other people. So it's not a price question, it's a language question, and that's the best analogy I can give in my JSON attempt.
Go ahead, Mickey. Did you hear him?
I was going to say that the free version of Resolve is free. So if you want to just dive into that for a bit and start to learn it, then yeah, that's something you can start with.
Chris?
Say that if you have no experience and you just want to get things done, I would definitely go the Final Cut route. If you have experience and you need more compatibility with other people, the Premiere / Resolve track-based system is the way to go. But I mean, learn what's easy first, and when you hit the limit, you go, okay, maybe I need more.
Jeffrey.
The only thing I'll add to that is if you are cross computering it, if you're on a PC and a Mac, then Resolve is going to be what I would learn first. If you're just going to be on a Mac, you can do Final Cut Pro, and technically iMovie is the free version of Final Cut Pro, although it's not.
So I'm gonna say something that probably not going to be popular. Is I think you should learn both. So if you learn both of those at the same time, there'll be no editor that you can't use, and you'll understand how they work with each other. And we have a lot of resources. We have people who know Final Cut pretty well here, and we're about to do a bunch of training in Resolve. So I would take on Resolve for the next month because we're doing a Resolve training. You can learn with a bunch of other people. So I would say Resolve first in the next month, but just because we're doing training on it. I use Resolve and Final Cut every day, both of them every single day. I have one of them open at some point in time to do something. I use Resolve for highly technical stuff around HDR, surround, and things that I need to deal with specifically with B-roll because I have so many B-roll cameras. And then to Chris's point, if I need to edit something real quickly and put it out, then do it in Final Cut. So those are the, and I go back, literally yesterday, I was going back and forth between the two, doing two different worlds, but doing those different things. I will say that unless you feel like you're really trying to get a job in the industry, unless you already know Premiere Avid, I wouldn't bother. Just to be completely flat, they're legacy apps. And so you may have to know them. You may have to know them because people in Hollywood use them, or people in whatever, people that at some company. But the two modern apps are Final Cut and Resolve. Go ahead, Bill.
I agree with that. I will say, though, that just understand that editing a piece of editing software and saying you're going to learn it is like saying you're going to learn to play the piano. It is really a years-long process to master editing. And there is so much to learn in just the idea of, you can spend a year on just learning how to make cuts, nothing else. Never mind the 1,000 other buttons you're going to be given in an NLE. So at some point, just bringing yourself up to speed on how editing operations work is the critical skill that you've got to jump over. I agree with what everybody said. In the future, it looks like we're forking into those two paths. The
one thing that I will suggest also is that every time you see a keystroke next to your menu item that you select, force yourself to use it. Don't even use the menu item. Always let go of it, and then go do it with your hand and keep on doing it with your. You might have to go back and look, and then use it with your hand. This is the fastest way to get fast with an application, is to not allow yourself to actually use the drop-down menu. So use the drop-down menu is your heads-up guide on what the keystroke is. so the go find the keystroke. Then I force myself with every app that I use. You'll see me go do this weird thing where I go to unless I'm showing people something like showing people here how to do something. Unless I'm showing some people how to do something, I will always go up, look at it, let it go, figure out what that keystroke looks like, and then if I use it often, It's really painful at the beginning and then really fast, and so go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I was going to say to what Bill said, I'm very leery when I have this conversation with somebody. So, person, what did you do this weekend? The person responds, oh, I learned After Effects, or I learned Final Cut. It's like, really? In a weekend? I don't think so. There's no way
I
you
did that with
in
After
a
Effects.
weekend. There's a lot to learn. But
I did that with After Effects, but I did it with Chris and Trish Myers. In 3
Well,
days, I went from 0 to 100 really fast.
I will say, Alex, what you just said about pulling down the menu to learn the keyboard shortcuts, I like that. I always tell people, if you do something 3 times in an hour, figure out a faster way to do it. I like that.
It's so painful when you get a new app to figure out what the keystrokes are. But you'll see me do this weird thing. Like right now, I'm trying to learn all the keystrokes for Cinema 4D for all the heads-up menus when you're subdivision surface modeling, and it's so painful because there's so many and so many combinations. I also don't get any. To that point, I like the colored ones that Doug's showing. I never get special keyboards or things that shortcut things because I want to be able to go sit down on any computer and do it. Let's go to the next question.
Okay, moving on to Doug Ferguson, Fort Wayne, and here on the panel most days, running a Windows webinar and a concurrent meeting for breakouts. What is the best way to get the attendees from the webinar to the breakouts? And he has a hashtag breakouts frustrate me.
Good, Chris.
I really think that the best thing to do is for your meeting, to create a web page that you can dynamically change. And this is your menu for the day. At 2 o'clock, you want to click on this button. It's going to take you to this webinar. At 3 o'clock, you click this button, and it's going to take you to the breakout, the meeting that has breakout rooms. I think that by creating it as a website, it affords you as the meeting host to modify and update and change things dynamically. If you send them a bunch of links in an email, they're going to be searching for it and whatnot, and it gets crazy. But having it as a dynamic website that you can update and modify, I really think that's the best way to do something where you have to bop back and forth between things.
Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, +1 on what Fenwick said. I have a Squarespace site that does this specifically on a per instance basis for every project that I do, and it works really, really well. Doesn't have to be publicly facing, can be password protected. And if you really need to for your C-suite, for example, you can just customize them. I mean, 30 people is just 30 websites, and cloning the page and making the change in the link is very easy.
Go ahead, Doug.
Yeah, it's just another part of that though, and I really like those suggestions of having the rundown of the day on a web page. But the other thing that's frustrating is the time when you leave one area and go to another area. We had 350 people, and I had to wait until they were all in there, or 75% of them were in there, and then create the breakout rooms and then push them all. And then for the next 45 minutes, I did nothing but keep clicking people that came in that were unassigned for 45 minutes. And that was just like painstaking, like, oh, there has to be a better way of these silly breakouts that they come in and they go right to a breakout. Like, well,
and so breakouts and breakouts don't, there's no deep linking in breakouts, right? There's no way to link, put on a web page to take you. What's missing for Zoom is a deep link. Just like I can give you a link and you're gonna go straight to that breakout is what I think would be great. In that area. Obviously, putting breakouts into webinar. Now, I admit, I actually like the way we do we do breakouts, which is that it's a separate event. We tell everyone to go to it. I would probably I'll eventually put it on a web page. I let everybody choose where they go. I'm not trying to push them into some breakout. I let them just decide where they want to go all the time.
Or could instead of breakouts in one meeting, have multiple meetings as the breakout.
Yep. If you want to do breakouts and you want to push everybody, you could. Yeah. If you're just trying to have people click a link and end up somewhere, you could just create multiple meetings. You don't have to have the breakout. The only advantage of breakout, if all you're using is a meeting for breakouts, you're probably better off just making multiple meetings. If the reason breakouts are useful, in my opinion, someone might argue with me on this, but is that you're having what we call a plenary. A plenary is everybody together, right? So you have a plenary meeting, and then you go into breakouts. if you don't have a plenary in that, if your webinar is the plenary, then you don't need, you can just do multiple meetings and give people direct links, and they'll all just go into the different, if they never have to go from one meeting to the other. And even then they could go back. You probably would find it easier for them to go back out to the web page, go into the other room by doing that, than to jump between them. I like to do it again because I like to give everybody a link and then let them choose where they want to go. I think that I don't understand. I mean, again, I don't understand the, other than ease of use, I guess, but it's not ease of use if you're sitting there clicking all of those. So the other thing to remember, though, is that we talk about this like, there's a lot of time and it takes a lot of effort. When we used to do these events, we had people standing in the hall that's all they did was get people from one room to the other. And it took a couple minutes because you left the main room. I mean, you didn't have, the reason that there was 10 minutes between events was so that it was 10 minutes. So like I just want to it's just like a little reference check is that in the physical world, it took us 10 minutes to walk out of one room, go down the hall, go to the restroom, get it to the other, do all the things that we were going to do to get to the other meeting. And so we want to, think about not so much the time, but that maybe a person that's sitting there routing people is another staff member that you have, that their job is to get people where it's not you, it's their job is to get people to where they need to go. But I think that the easiest way if you had a lot of people would be to just create different meetings. Go ahead, Mickey, and then Jason, and then we'll move on.
Yeah, I wonder, like another option, I guess, is if you have the capability with additional machines. I don't know how many breakout rooms you're going to have, but have everyone already in the individual breakout rooms and just have another attendee in there as the projector for the webinar. So they're watching the panelists essentially as just another person in the, or just another screen in the in the breakout room. And you can do that with AWS, as I'm sure Guy will say.
Yeah, Jason.
You can pre-assign them, but of course you need to know the person's name or the person's account. I have actually incorporated that in the past into a web page. The second step after, join this plenary is your name is, please click here to copy and then paste and rename. And, that's that. But the plenary reminded me of like, in production, you follow the yellow signs with, the 3 or 4 letters and then an arrow. And, everyone meets in a dirt parking lot on set. And, if you're doing a location shoot, there are people with clipboards whose only job it is to make sure you know where to go.
And again, we're still in this kind of halfway space where we are trying to reproduce the physical world. Like we're trying to do breakout rooms in the physical world, in the virtual world. Always keep looking for the fact that, your clients are going to keep on asking for this stuff. We're softly moving our clients away from a lot of physical concepts because they're very limited. It's old. It's a new wine in old wineskins. Go ahead, Alex.
I was wondering if maybe Makana could be the equivalent of signage at an event. And the signage would be a link to a different meeting. It would actually be a different meeting that you just click and go, oh, I'm in here. And somebody says, go to Makana, click this button. It'll show what's going on right now. And then they'll just click on the Zoom link for what's in each breakout.
Yeah, that would be good. That's all I want to say right now.
He said with a grin.
All right, next question.
Moving on to Maranatha Spanish Church from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Updated the ATEM Mini Pro to try to stream connecting my iPhone 11 Plus and nothing happens. What did I miss? He said you can.
Go ahead, Jason.
You need a very specific kind of tethering to be turned on, and there's a switch below. So first, you need to be on the current version of Mac OS. You need the Apple
or iOS, right?
Sorry, iOS. Yeah, iOS. And then you need Lightning to USB-C. I know he used another cable, but again, yeah, they can make cables. They make great cameras. They can make cables. You need the Apple branded one, and you may very well need to power cycle your ATEM. But yeah, there's a button below the, use, what's it called? Yeah, allow for more compatibility. And what that allows is USB port. Also, privacy has a setting that will say, allow internet access through my USB or through my Lightning port. If the phone gets powered off or if the screen gets turned off, you need to enable that. That's probably what's getting in your way.
Also, you have to make sure that you can hotspot at all. So you use your phone as a hotspot for your computer just to see if it works, because your services may not open that up. So AT&T or Verizon may want you to pay something else to be able to do that, or different kind of setup. So not all phones are able to do that out of the box. Go ahead, Sky.
I'm not sure if I'm reading the question right. I've had issues. I've had multiple phones and multiple of those plugs. I ended up going into a different port if you're trying to go from use your phone as a camera. Is that the question?
Because no, it's not using your phone as a camera.
This is for internet. Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry, stepping away.
Next question.
Andy Kokendorfer of Melbourne, Florida says, can you explain the workflow for WLM audio level testing? And I look down and Mickey's got it set up for us already.
Go ahead, Mickey.
So yeah, what I have here is I'm just running Audio Hijack on a Mac, and I have here my source, which is Zoom. I just created a virtual interface and loop back to get audio from Zoom going to Hijack, and I just put the WLM in here, and WLM needs a host to run the plugin. So that's what Audio Hijack is doing. It's running an AU version of the WLM plugin, and this is the meters that I screen scrape to send out to Zoom via OBS.
That's great. Next question.
Sean in Boston, Massachusetts says, Alex, you mentioned an obsession with your travel kit. What is your travel headset mic, and what are you using to monitor, listen to audio out? If there is time, also please go deeper into details of your travel audio setup.
My travel audio setup is pretty simple. My obsession is that we constantly have to send stuff out. So every time I leave the office, and I don't do it very often anymore, but I usually bring a slightly different kit. So I'm testing lights, testing stands, testing, whatever all the things that we may send to other people. So right now, my audio is I have a DPA H6, which is what I use on the road right now, going into a MixPre 3 2 with noise assist, and so that is that's my basic route, and then that goes via USB-C into the computer. So that is a fairly I don't have it in my office right now. It's still in my suitcase because I was just somewhere, but it is it's like a little pack. And so the other thing that I'm trying to do is constantly get that little pack down to just the right size. So I was testing with the Pavo tubes. Now Chris tells that's what Chris Comfort uses those, and he looks great. Of course, Chris is better looking than I am. So, but he looks great on the with the Pavo tubes, and I got him, and I like him a lot. Chris, you've read online or whatever that there is some that just don't take power.
Yeah.
correctly.
Well, first I'm using one tube and one 14-inch circle disc kind of to my right. Yes, Gerald Undone, when he did his review of the 6Cs, he said that he got two of them and literally kind of described the same thing you did. One just wouldn't accept power the same way that the other one did, and he could tell clearly that.
The problem I had was that it's taking power and charges, but then it just doesn't take it while it's on.
Yeah,
and I can't
doing it right now. It's taking power while this is running.
Yeah,
so
and one did it perfectly. So it just so anyway. So what I like about those little tubes is that they get into that compact kit. So I'm constantly trying to make the kit smaller and smaller and smaller. It's why I use the H6 is that it's tiny. I just put it inside that H6, and then I have a this is a audio implements earpiece that goes into it as well. And so that earpiece just goes into the headphone jack on the computer. I like to keep that simple. I don't need to hear myself. I mean, I like hearing myself at times, but I don't need to. And I like to keep that simple. So if anything goes wrong with my rig, I can still hear you. So if something went wrong with the rig and I suddenly can't hear, can't talk, can't do anything, it makes the recovery more difficult. So I usually use the headphone out if I can. As an aside, I don't think my Ethernet cable is long enough. Hold on. Yeah, it's too short. A really short Ethernet cable. I did get the Audinate. We were talking about this a little bit over the weekend and a little bit in the pre-show, but I got the Audinate Bluetooth to Dante. So what it does is it connects to your phone like a headset, and it just puts it in the Dante. And I connected it into my my mixer via Dante, and now getting in and out of Clubhouse with a full-on mic, easy. So, and even having phone calls, easy. Like if you want to have a phone call with your full rig now, you can just hit that and on your phone and hit go, and you're now in with a PR40 instead of the stupid phone mic. So so if you want to sound really good, I know that that's a little over the top, but what I'm always looking for is how to unify the everything. So I'm just kind of sitting working, and if I want to talk to someone, I don't actually have to pick up the phone. Now I can tap the phone, but now I can just keep on using what I'm using to do that. So something to think about. Next question.
Moved on to Joe Wasser of Atlanta, and Joe asks, so much talk about purchasing gear. Does anyone considering purchasing used gear?
I purchase a little used gear. I don't, I usually it's not mission critical for me. I don't, and I definitely don't purchase, the two things I don't really purchase used are cameras and my video like routing, and oftentimes even my audio routing. And the reason is that there's a lot of things you can't see happen to that gear. And moisture, heavy handling, those types of things that won't show up on the gear, but will affect it later. And it may not even affect it when you buy it. So if I think that things are going to be in a server room for a long period of time, I'm about to buy some stuff that I know sits in a server room and doesn't go in the field, I'm more likely to buy it. Go ahead, Mickey, and then Courtney, and then Bill.
Yeah, luckily for us in sound, sound equipment tends to last quite a while. So I've definitely bought a couple dozen secondhand microphones, and also analog equipment for studio use.
Good, Courtney, and then Bill. I can't hear you, Courtney.
All right, clicked and clicked and clicked, and it didn't change. You're hearing me. You're seeing me now on a B stock ATEM Mini. So that's what I suggest. Look for refurb or B stock, because a lot of times B stock will be the brand new stuff with the brand new, get the full warranty on it. It's just stuff that people didn't know how to use, and so they sent it back, or they thought it didn't work when it was just user error 9 times out of 10. So you can get some pretty good deals on B stock. They're technically used. They can't sell them as new, but they're basically new.
Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, I think there's a certain zen to using some of the used services. Some of the bigger broadcast house run used equipment sales, and they know what they're doing, so they're going to check things out before you get them. If you're on eBay or Craigslist or something like that, eBay generally tends to be a little bit safer, I think, because people's reputation comes, unlike Craigslist, where it's kind of everybody's crazy.
Don't buy anything on Craigslist.
Yeah, but the thing about for me, I look at what they're selling. Is it just the unit, or is it the unit in a package with all the accessories and everything? It gives a little tap into the kind of person that you're buying from, because the people who grab the unit, throw everything in a box, forget about it, throw it away, and just have the unit left, I kind of don't want to deal with them. That's just my thinking.
Good. Alex, and then we'll move on.
Sorry, I bought a Power Mac a G5 refurbished from Apple, and it was totally fine.
Yeah, refurb, especially from the manufacturer, is usually pretty safe.
You can get 16 gig Mac Minis at the moment. They're now on the refurb store from Apple. So if you couldn't wait for your 16 gig of RAM and 2 terabyte Mac Mini, they're now available on the refurb store.
And that's the M1?
UK. Yeah.
Nice. Next question.
Moving on, Andy Kokendorfer is back from Melbourne with, for distribution to conference presenters, what audio USB interface do you recommend using with the Pyle headset?
We're using the TechRise, although we've now heard that some of the TechRises are built differently and they're more complicated, and I haven't been able to test those, but we've been for a long time, we went through a lot of different things. Sabrent makes one, but it's a little quieter than the TechRise, and so we had some trouble with volume. But TechRise is the one that we use right now for the kits that we've sent out, literally hundreds of them. So they've been pretty stable. Next question.
Comes from Keenan Campbell in Princeton, Illinois. And here on the panel today, what's the setting in Blackmagic 6K to get rid of the letterbox in Zoom? That was my first month here on.
So Bill, what is the setting that gets rid of it?
I had kept thinking that I had to change the Blackmagic profile to something less than 6K. So I tried 4K. I tried a whole bunch of different things. It turns out that Blackmagic is smart enough to understand a Blackmagic camera and a Blackmagic ATEM. So you just leave it on the top 6K and it'll scale everything appropriately into the window. That's what worked for me.
So it was when you were doing something other than the 6K setting.
Right. I would say I'm just going to 1920 for a webinar. I'm going to move it down to 4K or something like that. Any other raster than the full 6K Blackmagic output letterboxed for me. Those were the early days. I don't know if they've changed any firmware, but that's how it used to work.
Keenan, are you on that 6K setting right now?
Yeah, I am. And that's what was kind of confusing us, because it is on the full 6K to the ATEM Mini and it's still letterboxing. I've been playing with it while we were sitting here and nothing seems to be helping.
We have this come up and I know we always just bang on it and then it doesn't do it anymore. Go ahead, Mickey. And I've had it too.
Is there a different setting on the 6K for DCI 6K versus, standard consumer 6K?
I need to figure out how to create it, because now that I've gotten rid of it, I don't know what I changed.
The problem for me too is I couldn't change it through any of the software. I had to go to the camera itself and change the menus in the camera. And so every time I did it, I had to take it down from my prompter and put it back up.
Yeah, go ahead, Jason.
I mean, here's what's strange to me is that, like, I've never had the problem. Here's the 6K, and there's never been any issue with mine at all. So,
I definitely have had it, but I just don't remember I can't remember what I did to do it. It is a relationship between the switcher and the camera. I mean, it may be when the camera is set. I do think that what I had to do was unplug the camera from HDMI and make sure it was set to its base, to 6K and so on and so forth, and then plug it back into the Mini. I know that as I changed it in the camera when it was plugged into the ATEM, it never went out of letterbox. It always was there until I had to unplug it and then set it and then plug it back in again. But I don't know if that's the.
And I do know that the ATEM Mini holds a lot of settings in there. So restarting the ATEM Mini after you reset the camera would probably be a good idea too. Just take everything down to the base and reboot it all fresh.
Sounds like a good video. I'm going to put in my little list of videos that I need to make. All right, next question.
Moving on to Charles Hedge of White Lake, Michigan, thinking about the availability of a Zoom space available 24/7 or in 2.5 Men Speak 31, married with a notification system like Clubhouses for ad hoc discussions. That's an interesting question. I'm not sure I quite understand it.
Yeah, so I think what he wants is to be able to have something that there's people in it. People can walk in and out of a room, but it notifies people when someone's in there.
Okay.
So it says, hey, there's people, you might get a notification. It's a good idea. You could probably do it with ZoomOSC in the sense that you could have ZoomOSC taking, if it changes the number of if the number of people in the meeting goes up, you could send out a notification, to people that were part of that club. And it could tell you even who just joined. So it would say, hey, Jason just joined, and then you could go to it. So that'd probably be the easiest way. I don't know of any service that does that, Jeffrey.
Yeah, the only problem is Zoom can't go 24/7. They'll end the Zoom session after so many hours.
I think it might be 24 hours, but I've definitely had it for a day open. The other thing you could do is have it just respawn.
Yeah.
So you could have if you had a recurring meeting every day, you'd have to have something that just respawns it each day. And maybe it is a person that has to do that, but it would be like stop one and start the other. But I don't know.
What is the time limit on a Zoom room? Does anyone know?
I think it might be 24 hours. I think it might be a 24-hour thing, but you could set it up as a certain time.
Zoom's website says 30 hours.
Oh, 30 hours. It's so that they tell you 24 and then they give you a little bit of headroom. But yeah, so 30 hours. So you'd have to have, what I would do is set it for 24 and set an alarm that says, restart the Zoom. And you just drop one and set up the other one. Although I don't know, if you had an ongoing daily meeting and you said that people could join anytime, it might essentially leave it open. So if you set people can join the meeting at any time as opposed to a certain time, it might leave it open. It might effectively leave it open all the time. And you can set it into the future. I think you could set it into maybe once a week that you had to refresh it, but then people could just join. I think Mickey Guy.
Yeah, maybe if you don't join the meeting, do as you said, like allow anyone to join at any time, but you yourself as the meeting host, you don't join that meeting from that same account. Might work.
Go ahead, Guy.
Yeah, I know with the Zoom room, you can, if you want to disable the security stuff, you can allow participants to join before the host. And so they would come in, and it would light up the meeting. But it's a big security risk because you can get people doing crazy stuff in there if they get that meeting ID out there. So that's the reason why they've locked it down. You'd have to intentionally go into the admin and let that. So you would disable meeting, the waiting room. You would disable the passcode potential, or no, you would leave the passcode enabled.
You'd leave the passcode, yeah.
Yeah. So still,
it's why we don't do it. We don't do it on our side. People have asked, like, can you just leave one open all the time? And I'm just like, I need to have somebody listening to it all the time. Even most of the time when I walk away, especially on the weekends when we kind of leave our post show open a lot longer, I tend to listen to it. I actually got it all working with AirPlay, so I listen to it while I'm doing the dishes or cleaning or whatever. But I'm still listening to everybody talking. And it's mostly just because it's interesting to listen to everybody talk, but also as a just kind of this conversation is going sideways. Bill.
I would wonder if Zoom would quash that after a while, because I have this vision of 100,000 people with 24/7 Zooms open when people are only dropping in for 10 minutes at a time, just sucking down bandwidth for blank screens.
Maybe. I don't think it sucks up a lot of bandwidth if no one does anything. But next question.
James in Dublin, Ireland says, I just got a Mac Mini M1 along with the Apple 3 terabyte Thunderbolt 3 to Thunderbolt 2 adapter. The Mac Mini will not recognize my monitor when connected with the adapter to the DP lead that came with the monitor. Any suggestions? I need 2 monitors with the Mini, one using HDMI and one using Thunderbolt.
I have had some trouble with the Thunderbolt 2 to Thunderbolt 3 connection. Like, that conversion hasn't worked with everything. Mickey and then Jason.
Yeah, that adapter doesn't carry the DisplayPort protocol, which does initially come out of the machine. So if you are connecting a DisplayPort monitor, it won't work. But if you do connect a Thunderbolt monitor, I believe it should work, maybe.
Jason and then Bill, and we'll move on.
Yeah, it will work. But again, order of operations is what matters here. And what's maddening is you will almost certainly, when you reboot the Mac Mini, have to disconnect it and then plug it back in after you've hot plugged, logged back in, and started your primary display as HDMI, whether or not that's where you end up.
Go ahead, Bill, real quick.
Yeah, I just had a problem with one of my externals, and if it wasn't a specific Thunderbolt 3 cable with that designation, it would not pass to. I got black screen until I changed it.
Go ahead, Mickey, real quick.
Yeah, I've been able to get that working though with a USB-C Type-C cable adapter that goes directly to DisplayPort, and that's what I use in the studio for one of our rigs on the iMac, and it works pretty well. You just have to go directly from the machine. Don't go from Thunderbolt 3 to Thunderbolt 2 and then add the adapter afterwards.
Next question.
Gabriel Ung in Malaysia says, color scopes are great for checking color balance, but how do you check for the contrast of an image? What's the standard contrast level that we should be aiming for? Is it just a look and adjust to taste?
Go ahead, Jason.
To my knowledge, there is no specific, contrast meter that can waggle up and down. There are a number of ways to do it. If you simply watch an RGB parade, as something gets more and less contrasty, you will start to see some binning that will, give you a sense of it.
If you have a calibrated chart and you have it in front of you, you can actually look at your contrast there. So the chart will have stair steps where you have different levels of gray. And what you're doing there is you can move your gamma up and down to make sure, or your contrast. And the main thing you're looking for is that you're not overexposing. That is kind of it, but not really. So what Jason's showing. So there's ones with 10 stair steps.
Way too small, but yeah.
Yeah. So because what you have is these big ones that you'll see the stair steps inside of your waveform. And so then what you're doing, and we'll talk about that some other day, but you'll see the stair steps the so anyway, so you'll so it's so distracting. Like for me, like I just hate that part of Zoom where it keeps on going. Every time something's spotlit, it shows up for me. Anyway, so you'll see the stair steps that in the waveform. If you have a chart that will show you those. The main thing you're trying to do is expose for white, expose for black, make sure that you're not cutting those off. And then inside of that, you're trying to get that proper stair stepping to move forward. And we'll cover that in another day where we have it up in front of scopes. Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, the other part of it is when most people say contrast, what they're referring to is mid-tone contrast. It's, how tweaky is your gray? It's not usually at the extreme high end or the extreme low end, because most people, whether or not they've actually thought about contrast, can tell if something's too gray or something just looks terrible, which would be too low and too high contrast, respectively.
Next question. We're going to move.
Gabriel Ung is back from Malaysia with when you're gain staging for audio, what decibel level are you aiming for? I was taught in recording studios that we should try to get to 0 dB when faders are at unity. Now I see that -18 is pretty standard.
Go ahead, Mickey. We're just going to go with Mickey on this one.
Yeah, I assume Gabriel is talking about the calibrating. The difference that you're seeing there, Gabriel, is the difference between an analog meter versus a digital one. Analog meter, like a standard VU meter, most people line up to 0 there, but typically 0 on an analog VU meter would equal to around -20 on a digital DBFS meter. So that's the difference you're seeing there. Some people line it up to -18, but I believe most of North America line up to -20.
Jeff, did you have anything to add to that?
Mickey's got it. I would just say that analog pro level is +4 dBu, and when you just see 0 dB, that's a reference. So that's not a specific measurement.
Next question.
Henry Ramos of Yonkers, New York says, thoughts on the big outage for all Vmix calls. Zoom is a backup, but multiple callers will obviously affect production. Tim posted in the forum that they were hit by a denial of service attack and had to wait it out.
I have to admit, that's kind of like one of those, that response has me just go, I'm never going to use that. like that. I'm just so paranoid about that type of thing. Like, some kind of like, oh, it didn't work, but we just had to figure it out, or whatever is not a good answer. That's all, it's just, that terrifies me, as someone who does high profile events. So it probably means that you want to have a backup for Vmix call, and you probably want to, and always know what that is and test your backup. A backup is not a good backup unless it can work just like the real thing. So I think that would be how I would approach Vmix at this point with that response. It's not that it happened, it's that we just had to wait it out. Like, is not what I want to hear from the person who runs the show. All right, next question.
Longtime show friend Tucker Dagoo says, is there a way to download an app installer from the Mac App Store for offline installation on other systems?
Go ahead, Jason.
If you have a Mac OS server set up, you can set up a provisioning profile that will make it extremely fast and easy. That's the only technically approved way that I know of.
Good, Felipe.
Monkey Report. There are a lot of ways of provisioning applications through computers like that. But Monkey Report is open source.
Got it. Mickey, did you have anything else?
Yeah, similar to what Jason mentioned earlier, you don't need the full Mac OS server. It's now built into Mac OS, the basic version of Mac OS, and it's in system preferences and sharing, and I believe it's called content caching. And you can download the installer using a different machine on a network, and the content caching machine will cache that in, and you can bring that computer elsewhere and use that to load in the applications without having to re-download everything again.
Now the audience is doing a really good job of asking lots of questions. We're not as panelists answering them fast enough, so we're going to go into kind of a speed round to catch up. Next question.
Maggie Barton Baird is up next with, I'm looking to buy one of the backdrops that many of you use. Any suggestions for purchasing one?
I highly recommend a 6 foot by 7 foot lazulite. It pops open, Lycra. The Lycra makes it smooth. I like gray because I can color it any way I want, as opposed to some certain color. I don't like designs behind it because it undermines the temporal compression or spatial compression against temporal compression. So less detail is better generally behind you. So that's what I recommend. Next question.
Chris Comfort in New York is up next with, in productions at the high level that some of you are working, do moments still rise where roles like director, producer, executive producer, and so forth need to be defined out loud to the whole team when roles get blurred and lines crossed unintentionally?
I mean, it's always hard with a new team, and especially with a heterogeneous team where you're mixing a lot of different production crews together that haven't worked together, of knowing like who is the person. We don't really think about exec. I will admit that I tend to be pretty loose on roles, but usually it's because I only add a couple new people on each show at most. I very rarely have a bunch of new people I don't know.
Is it inappropriate to like just say, look, just so we're clear about this, these are the roles and these are the responsibilities? Or
if you're the executive producer, yeah. Yeah, like if you're the producer, telling people what to do is exactly what you should be doing. Like, this is the person that's going to be managing this. This is the person. If you're in the crew, it's not appropriate to ask for it. Like, that will get you not hired again. Like it's just picking at it because it'll be seen as picking. Rather than the goal as in the crew is mostly to figure it out. Like what the role is here and try to be clear about the communication. But I wouldn't, when you ask, you can ask that right at the very beginning, like, who should I be talking to or who should I, but once you're in the show, you just don't bring that up because it's seen as insubordination by most producers. Go ahead, Mickey, really quickly.
Yeah, there's some roles though that don't have specific duties, like say maybe associate producer or PA. Sometimes multiple PAs are handed out different instructions or different roles. So those things I think need to be defined. But producer, production manager, directors, those are quite the clear cut in terms of what their responsibilities are.
Yep. Next question.
Jeff Francis of Columbia, Missouri, here in the panel says Final Cut Pro 10, now just Final Cut Pro, generally conforms different frame rates to project rates effortlessly. 25 to 24, 24 to 25 are handled with a 4% pull up or pull down. Is there any way to prevent this automatic pull up, pull down? And note, for the good of the community, it might be a good idea to explain why this 4% speed change is done.
The best way to do it, in my opinion, is to conform it. Like to properly conform before I bring it into Final Cut. I mean, that's what I do. Go ahead, Bill.
If you want a really simple analysis, and I'll do this real quick of
really
why
fast.
it happens. Yeah. Let's say you've got a 30 frame video and you're going to move it to 24. Obviously, if you just put every frame in there, your thing will slow down to accommodate the new frames. So in pull up and pull down, you are eliminating frames or duplicating frames or partial pieces to make it fit in time. That's what pull up and pull down is. You're fiddling with the number of frames to make the time fit.
Next question.
James Dottel of Reutlingen, Germany is back with Felipe Baez. Which lens are you using?
I am, unmute myself. I am using a 25mm f1.7 native to the Panasonic.
Looks great. Yep. Which is hence the question. Next question.
Sky Gleason of Seattle is in with, I'm looking for a better internet in the Seattle area. I'm currently using Comcast, but Zippy Fiber is now available. Any thoughts on Ziply Fiber?
Ziply. Yeah.
Ziply, sorry.
Anybody? I think that one's too local for us. Next question.
Andy Carluccio.
Guy has his hand up.
Oh, go ahead, Guy. Oh. I missed it.
Yeah, I'm using it both here at the office as a backup, and the kids use it for their main internet. So I segmented our house, but I'm happy with the service, $65 a month, and it's been fast and stable. But I obviously have two because it fail over. So it's super nice if you can keep both, though. I mean, it's super nice when the one gets hit. There's power poles that get ran into by drug drivers and whatnot. So
I'm currently using my AT&T as my backup, so that's where I've got to get something better than Comcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Next question.
Andy Carluccio is in from Washington, D.C. ZoomOSC for Zoom Rooms is looking like it could be possible. Doing some experiments this week, would this present value over existing room workflows? Is it worth the development investment? I know the panel has asked for this on a few occasions.
Go ahead, really quick, everyone, like 10 seconds each. Paul and then Jason.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Go ahead.
Okay. Go ahead, Jason.
I wouldn't put it first on the list, but yeah, I mean, you know, at very least something like sorting people and handling them once they're sorted. Yeah.
As someone who almost all my productions are almost all Zoom rooms. Yes. All right. Next question.
Doug Ferguson, Fort Wayne. How do you get rid of annoying overlays in a Zoom room?
A lot of it is point to point. So point to point will get rid of a lot of the, like, this person speaking and everything else. And then you zoom it up. You scale it up just a little bit. 105, 107% usually gets rid of everything else. But as you have multiple people in it, you will get other things in there that are hard to get rid of. But somewhere between 105 and 100% will get rid of it. The Zoom room works better than the meetings because it doesn't have all the guck in the bottom. So you know, I don't know if anyone has any other suggestions, but those are the big ones that we use. Next question.
Tyler Darlington in San Diego. Many active speaker manufacturers neglect to document the maximum input level in dBu, making proper gain staging of multiple audio hardware units difficult. Though the input sensitivity is nice, it doesn't paint the whole picture. Does anyone have a method for measuring that maximum input level?
Go ahead, Jason, really fast, and then Jeff.
Yeah, I think you just need a decibel meter and you need to place it accordingly and take it with a grain of salt because it's really, really hard to gauge that stuff.
Go ahead, Jeff.
I think you'd need something that could measure distortion. So something like Smart or SpectraFu that you could actually measure where the amplifier or the speaker begins to go into clipping, and that's your maximum input level. Wear hearing protection while you're doing it.
Yeah. Next question.
Maggie Barton Baird in Edmonton, Canada. We're working on a virtual event and we're going to be sending the host into a studio to be able to have more control over his setup and reliability. Now there is a curfew in Quebec and we can't send him. We have 2 weeks. Any suggestions on gear to send him to make his at-home setup reliable and slick?
So we do a lot of that remote. We've had that issue. So we've done a lot of remote production. And it just depends on your budget. So our standard is to send out the smaller ones are the Brios, and then, you know, we send out a couple lights. We mostly have NAN lights, and those NAN lights range from the LumaPad 25 to the 68 Cs to the 100 Cs. I will say that the 200 Cs, we did that for a set. It's too big. They're really big lights. Anyway, so that they'll look really nice. Headsets just depend on how much, again, budget. Our bigger kits have USB mixed pre-3s with noise assist and a Countryman H6. Our smaller kits are using the Pyle or Pulsons with a Tech Rise. Those are the main things that we send out for folks. The bigger kits with 6K cameras and everything else are a bigger kit. You know, that's a big setup. It just depends on how many people and where you're sending them. Go ahead, Nikki.
Yeah, again, this depends on budget, but another option could be to rent a meeting room in a hotel and have both the presenter and the crew stay there overnight if curfew is the issue, which has been done quite a bit here.
Yeah, and having a person to set it up, or really good videos and PDFs, or you know, if you're going to send it to someone, you can't put somebody in the house. But to Mickey's point, if you can get a person to set it up for him, it makes a big difference. Next question.
I'm going to presume this is for you, Alex. John Barker says, when you inevitably get your ATEM Mini Extreme, what's the first button you will press? And accidental presses count.
It'll probably be 1. Do I see something in 1 or 2? It'll most likely be 2 because I'll put my camera into 2 and I'll click on it and go, okay, I see it. All right, next question.
John Baker says, I'm looking for a screen recorder on PC that works as simply as Mac OS's built-in capturing. Any recommendations?
Go ahead, Jason.
It's built into Windows 10. You can activate it with the in-game menu.
Next question.
Brian from Medina, Ohio says, Pyle Pro headsets, $20 unboxes with microphone on the left side of my face. I can't find a manual or hints on how to switch it. I've tried twisting the screw, but I'm afraid to break it.
I don't try to switch them. Do you? I don't. I mean, I decide that's, you know, with those ones specifically, I use them on the side that they came with, and I know that may not be great for everyone, but they're $20. So you can get if you start spending more money on ones, you can have ones that are easier to swap. But I don't know how to do it otherwise. Next question.
Jeff Francis from here in the panel, cleaning out and found an old lens, a Kiron Kino macro lens 28 to 70. Useful or trash?
I say you put it on the camera, and we'll all decide. You got to throw it on and throw it on a camera, get it on a webcam, and show it to us. I mean, that focal length, 28 to 70. Is it? What is it? What's the mount?
You tell me.
Oh, well, you know, I've never one, unless it's scratched, I'm never one to throw away lenses. That's all. Or you know, like I find some reason to do them, even if it's just taking them apart to examine them. So I would probably not get rid of it. But yeah, I don't know what the mount is.
Jeff, have you tried it on the cameras you own, and what isn't it?
Yeah.
I have not yet. I literally just found it.
Okay,
Probably
maybe
like
it'll
a
be EF
Pentax.
and you'll be great.
It's probably like a Pentax mount. All right, next question.
David Brady of New York is in with second to last. First time using the ISO feature of an ATEM Mini ISO. Is there a way to access the files via the switcher in real time?
Jason.
No.
Yeah, be cool. We call that an EVS. All right, next question.
Fred Eric Eckert of Bad Herrenalb, I'm sorry, Germany. MacMini rack mounting solutions.
Go ahead, Jason.
Alex.
You can get a 1RU custom solution that's about $200. You can also just get a 1RU shelf and be done with it.
We use the Sonnet ones, which are about $200. The nice thing about them is that you put them in, and it really is pretty. You know, you can do it you definitely, to Jason's point, you can put it on a rack and just tape it down or Velcro it. So we use like really heavy duty Velcro and put them on the bottom and put them on racks if we're putting other things on the rack with it. If we're really looking for two of them, what's nice about the Sonnet ones is that you can clamp them down. They're in there. They also have a button on the front. So you can push it and it'll actually. It's a little gear. It's a cool little design, but when you push it, it actually pushes the start button on the back of the computer. So they're a great little thing. Go, Jason, real quick, and then we're going to jump to Keenan.
I love the Sonnet. They have not updated it for the new form factor. So just keep in mind.
Oh yeah, I guess I have it on all my old ones. I haven't even tried to put the new ones in, so that might be a problem. I don't know. They have a little bit of room to work, so we'll see. All right, now we're switching gears. Really excited to have Keenan Campbell. Keenan jumped on a couple weeks ago and showed us his broadcast from his truck. So this is truly mobile broadcasting. This isn't like having a kit somewhere. The kit is in the truck. So I just wanted to make sure I think that there is such an interesting opportunity for not just municipalities, but all kinds of news gathering and other things where you're really able to interact with the audience and stream live. And so I wanted to get Keenan on here to show his rig and talk a little bit about first the problem that you were solving, Keenan, and then we'll dive into, I'd like to see some video of it, and then we'll talk about your kit. So if you have questions as you start to see this, if you have questions for Keenan, go ahead and pop them into Makana, and we'll go from there. Go ahead, Keenan.
Thanks. Appreciate it, everybody. This has been a kind of a labor of love for me. So I'm going to switch over. I did a quick keynote.
Oh, nice.
And
okay.
I want to, so we're running on two different computers because the StreamYard is such a hog. I didn't want to bog our Zoom down. So you can kind of see, this is the photo of my Tahoe. So I have a 2020 police Tahoe for emergency management. I'm the director. So this is my car, and I have a MacBook Pro mounted in the truck at all times. It's the laptop.
And you already had that, right?
Correct. Yeah. This is my county laptop is a MacBook because I'm a Mac guy and I don't really care for Windows too much. So I had this mounted when we built the Tahoe, and we used to put a 4G LTE iPad on the dash of the Tahoe, and it worked okay. It was one stream Facebook Live. I had a iRig Lav, so I understand the audio side of this house. So basically, the basic requirements are either a Wi-Fi hotspot, your phone as a hotspot, or this vehicle actually has FirstNet, which is AT&T LTE built into it. So we already had the internet taken care of. That's going to be the biggest challenge is getting your internet. The laptop mounted. And then we put a Logitech Brio, and it's actually, and I'll show you on the next slide here. So this is looking from outside of my car in, and you can see that the Brio is actually just Velcroed. I ordered a mount, and I couldn't get the Brio to flip upside down. It wouldn't invert the video in the software. So I physically had to mount it to that's the red and blue warning light. The Brio is there. I was really surprised on how stable it was. We didn't get a lot of road bounce. It really looked nice. So the next revision of this could be a Huddle Cam or an ATEM Pro. I don't know yet. We're still working on that. Maybe making it a little bit bigger. Guy and I talked about a Huddle Cam, which would kind of be cool that I could have presets. The other thing that we did is I ordered the Stream. I don't know what the actual trade name is, but it's the box with the 6 buttons on it. Unfortunately, Stream Deck doesn't have integration for macros yet. So eventually there'll be a Stream box where I can tap the buttons and run through it. The other thing we did was an XLR to USB with a Pulson adapter for audio, because while I'm driving, I obviously, miking a car is really difficult. I knew the audio wouldn't be fantastic, but having something on my lapel, the people really got it. So what I did was, and you guys have kind of skimmed through the video, what I'm going to do is I took a 30-minute live stream and I cut it down. So some other ideas that we've talked about is a central location for production crew. So the producer could be sitting in an office fixed with iPads, cameras, all of these setups feeding back to them. The neat thing with StreamYard is it can be ran from anywhere. I run it from my car, but for a bigger production, and I've talked to John Idelson about Cal Parks, we could have all these remote cameras into StreamYard. Somebody's remotely switching the feed or bringing ATEMs with the the streaming bridge back to a central location and pushing it out. So the potential for this is pretty phenomenal. So
I could see like this could be again where something like a link, an elemental link, because the Zixi is so it can flex so much with your LTE that you get it into there and then pass it via SRT to somewhere else, and then you're able to intermingle all of these really quickly and easily.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. So I lost my highlight now. I can't see myself.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, that is the challenge with the. Yeah, go ahead. Can you see it now?
Yep, I'm good. So okay, this is kind of the live view, and I'm going to turn myself off so you guys can see the whole screen. So we built the graphics. They're done in Photoshop. And what I'll do is I'm going to play this video. We'll talk about it as it goes. It's only 1:30, and then I'll go to StreamYard Live and we can kind of show you how all this is put together.
Yep.
So the video plays. You can see that I'm driving down the road. Everything is done by me. So this was just me. I cut to some of these comments. StreamYard pulls people's comments in there, and I don't know why it looks really dark, but it is what it is. So while I'm cutting the show, I'm actually driving and I have one hand over and I'm just tapping between the different views. A lot of times we talked about it the last time. So the radar is a good view when I'm stopped. When the video under the EMA tracker on the left is there, and it's not really great video. So we'll go to radar. So we're actually just doing that with a screen share on our laptop. So that's just one laptop's running this whole show in the truck. So you can see me jumping over snow drifts and bouncing. And I cut the audio out of this because I didn't want it. But you can see Katie commented. So the interaction with our fans is phenomenal because this is all built. I just click on it and I put Travis's comment right up on the screen. So we brought a second camera in. You can see that. And then I just highlighted the second camera, except he didn't know to turn his iPhone sideways to get the 16:9. So that was something I had to teach him on the fly. Yeah, it's a learning curve, but this is the problem that I thought my truck was going to look like with the walking handy cam. It's not great. So I kind of wanted to show you, we need to have cameras mounted, iPads mounted. He got better at it once he was not walking.
Well, and if you get like an Osmo or something like that, he could walk around with it as well.
Well, and that I do have an Osmo and I just didn't get it to him because there was a snowstorm. So
that's excuses.
I know. I'm trying. So then the other thing, this graphic, this was Alex's idea. Hey, lead out, make sure when you end the stream, leave this for a minute. So let me get out of this and then I will actually show you. So I have StreamYard Live. I'm already loaded into it. Mm-hmm. So you can see the graphics. I don't have any sources on my Mac Mini to put into this, but you would obviously see video here. The radar would have been there. The switching that I was telling you guys about is down at the bottom here where I can pick, do I want to go one person, two? It's already pre-built. So the other neat thing is you can put video clips built into it. So for instance, there's my Ready Bureau TV news channel 30-second intro video, but great. The load is not coming from my laptop over internet, over the LTE. It's already preloaded on StreamYard servers.
Right. So your connection's it's not going to matter.
Exactly. All I have to do is be able to click and so, okay, there's our thanks for watching. I want to change it to a 2-up. I can turn these on and off. So there's a 2-up that we've already designed. You can put leaves behind it. So
and with those 2-ups, you're building those, and then you can kind of place the video where you want it.
So the video is fixed by StreamYard and
where it shows up. So you have to build yours against the way that they do it.
So there's some partners that StreamYard uses now that actually have built these templates. I bought this base template for $50 and then we modified it, tweaked it in Photoshop. So all of this work is done before we even go live. So then when you see this is a sample one. So the customer comments show up here and I just basically click show and hide, and that's it. So banners, we can have 20 banners pre-built, and I want to run I write this before I leave. So there's the winter weather advisory banner.
Right.
So a lot of this stuff is, people say, oh, I don't know how you could do all this. Well, it's pre-built from the comfort of my office before I actually get in the truck and I start driving. Right. So the neat thing is, so this has branding built into it. So you can actually design this a friend of mine's a sheriff. So I designed a brand for him. So if we were going live, I could quickly switch between brands depending on where we're pushing the video to. So there's some really neat features. So I've been impressed with it. It's made our production much more professional. It does do private chats with the guests. So everybody in the guest comes in a green room in the bottom, and then I choose as the producer to put them into the show. So they can be down here, and the way we did it is I said, well, let's go to our public information officer live. And he heard me say that and knew I was cueing him and he needed to get ready. It didn't quite work right because his camera was crooked, but we'll work those kinks out. But so the talent hears me saying, so basically we have a live IFB to the talent to say, hey guys, I'm going live to so-and-so, and he knows to be ready to queue up.
Well, and I think that what's one of the things I think is important is that I think that a lot of times government doesn't understand, government agencies, state, local, state, national, don't understand the value of being able to produce a clean feed that looks great, that communicates what needs to get done, pushes people's opinions. They go, oh, I shouldn't go out, because they actually see it. And if it looks really bad, they may not watch it, and if it doesn't have the information, it doesn't look like what they're used to watching on TV, they'll think less of the content. I think we'd all like to think that. And I think a lot of times what we find is that both, in academia, in government, there is like, well, it's just the information that matters. Well, presentation of the information might be useful.
And you know what? I've seen other agencies, and I'm not going to say who they are, with the shaky cell phone video, and they're outside. They have terrible audio, no microphone. Even, the iRig cheap lapel mic is something better than the iPhone camera in a windstorm. So we've tried to take it to a level that, we're not TV studio level, but people see our feed and they really look at the graphics.
Well, I saw it. I was impressed. I was just like, wow, that is amazing. And so that, I jumped right on it. That's why I wanted to bring you in. I was like, I can't believe someone's doing this on the fly.
Well, and it is a little bit of back end. It's like any good production. We're building. I'm going to build the graphics. I'm going to write the banner before I get in my car. And it's matured to now where we have 4 cameras. Right. So eventually, I've talked about the Huddle Cam, and you see the TV news do this with their Storm Track 8 Beast, or what, the Weather Channel's done it for years with a ton of pro gear, and they basically take the front passenger seat out and put a rack of equipment. I did it with a laptop. So eventually there may be an ATEM. I don't know. There may be a 6K. We'll see, but I don't know. And we already have people that asked to sponsor the hood, thanks to Jason.
So
that's great.
We will not be asking for sponsorships, but somebody saw Jason's comment and went, "Hey, I'd put my name on your hood." No, we're gonna leave it alone.
That's great.
So
if you have questions in the panel, please ask them in Mukana so people can vote on them. But yeah, so and when did you? Is this the first winter that you did it?
Correct. Well, this is the first winter we use this system, but we've done past winters with my iPad on the dash with a microphone. So we have done it where I drive around with just the iPad. It was okay. The camera on the iPad wasn't terrible, but the Brio actually brought it to a level that really excelled, and people they saw it and they couldn't believe. Even we didn't have a lot of LTE dropouts, which I was really surprised. The FirstNet, which we're on the AT&T public safety network, so we have a little bit of priority, but I was really surprised. My PIO, his camera dropped out, and it was neat because I just cut away, or I muted him because he was cutting out and left his video down. So there is a little bit of a production side of it that I had to do, but the neat thing is they're locking up. Well, we cut away from them.
Yeah, I definitely see jobs appearing all over the country of county video specialist, like the our technical director that ties all these things together. I mean, what is your official job, with the county?
So my official job is I'm the director of emergency management. So fires, floods, tornadoes, hazmats, big things. That's my baby. And I took the method that, if we do a press conference, I hate cell phone video. If I need to do a press conference, we're going to have the right backdrop, the right camera, wireless mics. Thanks to Guy, we've upgraded from the JVC 4Ks to the 6Ks. So we have the pro gear to do all of this stuff. And if we're doing a press conference, it's going to have a backdrop. They're going to have a mic. We even have and I don't know what the real word is, but we have the mic flag that has our logo on it when you hold the microphone. I mean, we've went so far as to do that. And when we do a press conference, the problem with Bureau County is we're the 8th largest in the state of Illinois, but we're not Chicago.
Right.
So the news media doesn't come and cover everything we have going on. But if I do a really good production with the ATEM, we're switching it, we have everything, the news media grabs our feed on Facebook or YouTube and they share it on their own outlets, or they grab snips of it and put it on their broadcast. So we've taken it where I've deployed for different other counties that have had disasters, and I basically set up the entire video production in a trailer. We have the ATEM and a 43-inch monitor, and we're switching the show with all our gear. So not every county does that, but I really wanted good video. If we were going to do this, it was going to be pro.
Well, and again, this comes back to when quality, people, whether we like it or not, people equate quality to authority. And when we have it all beat up, when we can't understand what's going on, we're like, oh, this is just second rate. But when you start to get this stuff done and make it, maybe, it doesn't have to be as good, but make it as CNN. But that stuff looks like that looks super solid, and it looks, really enjoyable to watch. Like, I can definitely see throwing that on, especially if I was in an area where there was a lot of snow. I don't really get a lot of snow here, but the where I grew up in Pittsburgh, those would have been plastered on our TV to know what's going on outside, because you don't know what's going on. I have to admit that you've inspired me, that I have a van that I wasn't sure if I was going to keep. Now I've decided to turn it into a war machine, a video war machine. I was like, if Keenan can do this, I can do this. So so this is going to be, I'm going to put cameras on every direction and start figuring it out. And so it's a new project, because I didn't have any projects before. It's going to be a new project for me to play with, is having kind of a mobile production unit in my van.
Well, so we actually set up a 6-foot by 12-foot enclosed trailer that we use to carry gear. So when we deploy, I have so much gear that we bring for the deployment, generators, power, all of that stuff. So it actually has a shelf built into it with the HDMIs routed over. We set the ATEM, and I'll do mobile production. It's got a pass through on the side. So it actually became a video production trailer for other counties. The one thing that I didn't expect, the news media.
Go ahead. The news media.
The news media actually grabbed our feeds and said, look at Bureau County. They did a Facebook Live road check.
Right.
So it was incredible.
Yeah, and again, and it saves lives when people know what's going on, when they see that, when they see not to go out there, when they see what's actually happening. That this kind of stuff sometimes is a lot cheaper than a lot of the other ways that counties try to engage with their constituents, because we're all on our mobile devices and everything else, and being able to cut through the noise, I think, is important. Yeah, Chris?
Yeah, I was going to say this is really interesting because what you're doing, Keenan, is you're taking advantage of what I would call the inherent laziness of news agencies, that they just want content. And for decades, people have taken advantage of this by pre-producing video news releases, VNRs, and say, hey, look, here's a story. They even packaged it in such a way that it would be very easy for people to drop a head and a tail on to localize it. And they're just looking for stuff to put on their in between their commercials, but you're actually taking advantage of their laziness for something that's good, getting good information. And what was the phrase you just used, Alex, about quality information has more authority or something?
Yeah.
How did you say that?
People equate quality to authority,
Yeah.
and so it's
so true.
Yeah. Next question.
TJ Asher has the first one for this segment. He says, obviously, the first thought for a lot of us is safety when driving a 5,000-pound plus vehicle. How are you able to safely monitor the broadcast and keep an eye on the road at the same time? Does this violate any distracted driving laws? And he finishes with, don't get me wrong, this is as cool as all get out. And I think we all agree with that.
So a lot of the switching is done when we're stopped. We move the radar, but actually with my fingertips, I can keep my hands on my keyboard and know where to switch to go from spotlighting to the radar back and forth. So that's all pre-built and it's all running already. So I'm just switching views, and then the comments, it's just a matter of click. So you'll see me usually when I'm at a stoplight or a stop sign, I'm turning a comment on or off. Eventually, we're going to have a weather producer in the truck that's going to run this if it keeps going the way it is, where we have 4 cameras, or we're going to have somebody back at our office that's going to take all of our feeds, aggregate them, run the show. But for right now, it was just me cruising around at 30 miles an hour and one hand, and I can put it back up if you want to see the setup again. In my car, my console is actually here. Let me switch over to that.
And, one of the things I could see is also building, something that's custom, X keys kind of thing. This is where X keys might be more useful in this area, where you have little buttons on your actual steering wheel that could, cut between stuff that you don't even have to reach over.
Well, and so that's what I bought the Elgato Stream Deck box. It doesn't work with StreamYard yet. So the idea is in here, so you can see in the bottom of the picture, that console, my laptop is about the same as my armrest. So my arm sits on my armrest and my hand literally touches my trackpad.
Right.
So I'm not looking away very often. Once my hands are fit, once we get the Stream Deck up and running, it's going to be click, 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 show a comment. I'm going to program those buttons in so I can have that either on the steering wheel or in my eye line somewhere to be able to switch between those views. So that's the next revision of this.
That's really great. Next question. Oh, go ahead, Chris. You have something to add to that? No, we can't hear you.
All right. I was wondering, does Blackmagic have any sort of heads-up display output module upgrade that we can purchase?
No, but you could do it. You could, there'd be some. We could probably figure out something. I mean, I think you could get a lot of that to display out, and it would just take a little bit of work. But yeah, next question.
I'm laughing at it because it's John Edelson, our friend, and he's, you give somebody something great, they want something even cooler. He wants it walkable. So he says, have you ever thought about building a mobile system for an individual walking in the field? If so, what would it look like?
Well, I have. My guy was walking in the field with his iPhone, and he became a source into my production. So literally, if you had somebody with an Osmo or some type of a Ronin gimbal or whatever, they could be the walker walking around feeding back into our production. And John is a jokester, I can tell.
The way we did it for an event is that we had a series of cameras with all with bolts. So that we had a Teradek bolts that went back, and we literally had a person with it was an Apollo. It's the screen that can you can touch screen and cut between 4 inputs, and that person had a lot. Yeah, the convergent design Apollo, and it had I think it was Apollo, but it might be the upgraded Apollo or whatever, to the one that can actually switch. Anyways, we have 4 cameras going into it. And then we were able to essentially, one was a camera tap. We were following a photographer around. So it was their camera. So you could see the hard output from their camera. Another one is a wide that was on on a DJI Ronin. So we're following them around. And then we had another camera following them. Anyway, so we had these cameras, and then they went back over Bolt to a person that had a backpack, a live view backpack, along with a this Apollo kind of hung in front of them, and they could literally just sit there and tap on the screen, and it was changing the cut, and it was all mobile. And so we had some issues. The area that we were in, for some reason, had a lot of trouble with batteries, but outside of that, we had it was mysterious. Anyway, so but overall, it was a pretty slick rig. I was trying to find the photo, but I won't find it fast enough.
How did you make me think of this?
Little like that. I'll try to find the photo while we're answering questions. Go ahead. Next question.
Moving on to Sky Gleason from Seattle here in the panel with, where do you stream to? Facebook, YouTube, and why?
So currently we just have it going to Facebook. The StreamYard can be set up to multiple pages, multiple YouTube. I think we can get 8 streams at the 8 or 10. We're just going to Facebook. We get better user engagement. They're already following our page. We're trying to drive the citizens to self-solve and follow our page for tips and things. So we're using it as a marketing tool also, because then we have our own app. So we're going to push them to download the Ready Bureau app at the end of our videos. The app is kind of the great way for them to get all the preparedness information about the county. And we're one of only 3 counties in the state that has our own app. So we're trying to build it into this social media campaign, and Facebook has gotten the most viewership. We've had 2,000 to 3,000 people watching the stream. And I can kind of, when I see the stream start to trickle down, I know I got to pop it back up and go to a video, or, you can kind of gauge your audience, just like we've talked, Alex, here, if it's boring, they're going to leave. So sometimes road driving, they don't like it unless I'm bouncing through snow drifts. And so I kind of pick what areas of town I know are going to be bad, just to give them that better video. But we basically ran the show based on the users, and they love their interaction. I get more comments from people on Facebook that says, I can't believe my comment showed up. Mom's on TV. So, the kids, it's the little pocket television, but for everybody else, it's just Facebook, and the comments pop on the screen. The citizens have just loved that. They actually interact more knowing that their comment is going to show on the screen.
Well, and that's definitely one of the things that we talk a lot about. You'll notice that we're pretty careful here. Bill's pretty careful to always say who and where they're from. That positive reinforcement drives more questions. So when people ask questions, it gets more questions. It tends to, we've seen that for a lot. By the way, this is the, I'll just show this really quickly, and then we'll go. Oh, I can't, because I'm not a co-host. So anyway, let's go to the next question.
It's Chris Wildner of Lafayette, Indiana, who asks, other than Cosmos Streamer, is there any way to bring a DJI Pocket 2 for something like this? Bring in a DJI Pocket 2.
I don't know if there's a live feed from you can stream it. So I guess you could RTMP. This gets back into that whole idea of having somewhere in the cloud that's receiving different streams in different formats. So I think that there's a streaming methodology. So I think you could have a couple different ways of getting stuff in. The hard part is really audio sync and so on and so forth, or two-way communication. So you just got to be careful of that process, but you could probably have it stream out, but it has to go somewhere in the cloud first. And then I don't know whether you can you RTMP into StreamYard?
No, not that I've seen yet. I'm sure we could if we use the ATEM. I don't know. We'd have to experiment with that, getting it in there, because the StreamYard is just basically taking the USB video feed.
By the way, I was just going to real quickly. This was the picture I was talking, or this was the setup that I was talking about. There you, just for a second. So they're up here. You see the Pterodex, the Apollo, this rig that we made poor Kevin wear. Anyway, and we were in the middle of nowhere. So anyway, that's the kit that we were talking about. Hopefully that inspires Keenan to go build a crazy mobile kit, but it's very close to the Al Franken kit. All right, next question.
Craig K in Toronto says, Keenan mentioned earlier that the Stream Deck could fire macros. Has he tried using Companion? Firing even an app script should work.
Well, we've tried a lot of things and we haven't got it yet. StreamYard told me they're going to enable it. So I'm going to play a wait and see until they get the support enabled. On the Windows side, you can do it, but the Mac, the workarounds it just seemed too cumbersome for right now. So eventually we have it. We'll get to that point on Rev 2.
And we're a little low on questions. If you have questions for Keenan, this is you want to go ahead and throw them out there. Go ahead. Let's jump. Oh, Jason, you were going to add something there.
Yeah, Companion really should do it, but if, again, because this is production and because you have a known good way of doing it, I completely support the idea that, you really should just wait for the support. The Stream Deck will work really well, once it has the plugin.
And I think that the other way, again, I feel like this is a place that I would think about X keys as well, only because of figuring out how to translate X keys into keystrokes. And the only reason I would think through that is because you can build all kinds of things, because X keys just works with closures. So you can have a little hub that just has 1/8 inch jacks in, and you can put little buttons wherever you want them to do stuff. And it might be you might be able to build something more, because then it's just a mechanical closure in whatever shape and whatever location you want. To have some of those remote controls could be an interesting thing to do. The Stream Deck is great because it's a fixed form factor. But it's harder to put in a car because it's a fixed form factor. So if you have something that's more flexible, you might be able to build something that is interesting. Because once you get into closures that are connected, you basically just go to a button company and then we build lots of custom things like this, where we build them into curves and we build them on the side of things, and you just tap on them, and then they're all we care about when we're building it is the closure. And then on the other side, we turn it into an action. Next question.
Comes from George, and it's side, I believe. I apologize, George, if I got that wrong, from Webster Groves, Missouri. And he says, are you interfacing with SK Warn or SKWARN and or amateur radio storm spotters making reports?
We are, but not during the live feed. So those reports come to my emergency operations center. So when we're out in the field, I don't have any direct integration with those to put them onto the map. That was something that one of the comments somebody made was we need better maps. So more locations of where people are so I don't know if that's going to be a graphics process, or we were even talking about building something in Keynote to make it look like, hey, here's the map. Here's where, kind of like what the Weather Channel does when they show the country, and here's Jim Cantori and this person. They wanted us to kind of build something like that, which I could do just in a static graphic, but I haven't pulled my weather spotters into it yet.
Do you encourage people to send in photos like over Instagram or over anywhere else, like to upload photos of what this storm looks like or what this thing looks like from your home? That you could kind of push those images in. So
not on Instagram. In our Ready Bureau app, there is actually a storm reporting feature that they punch photos. It gives me their lat and long. And that goes to ArcGIS. The problem is I don't know if I couldn't vet them from the road before I push that photo live. Oh, right. So that was something we talked about, because I have it actually maps in my county. So if you live in my county and you put a pin drop, I could click on your pin drop and there's your photo. But the problem would be live. Yeah. Somebody could put some nefarious photos there that I wouldn't want to display live. So we'd have to have a way. I'd have to have somebody back at the EOC vetting that photo, make sure that record is real. It's not somebody, because people do some weird stuff. Even some of the comments we get, we don't show all of them. And that was one of the beauties of StreamYard. I could skip over comments that say, whatever, negative comments, people that are, we don't deal with profanity. We don't deal with religion. We don't deal, being county government, we have to stay away from a lot of that stuff. So people put political things in there. We're not a political agency. We always tell them we don't have a political party. We're operations. So we kind of take the same methodology that you've had in office hours, that I have to be very careful. I'm not here to start a flame war when we're showing you road conditions. And some people, they feel like that's their platform. When they see when they see the citizens' comments about school being closed put up on the screen, they'll post something bad thinking that it's automatically going to show up. Right. Yeah. To wreck the stream. So we have to vet those. And it's getting to the point where if we keep doing this, we're going to need a weather producer, somebody running the show from a fixed location.
Yep. And it seems like it's something you could almost pool resources from multiple counties, because it's not something that all of them need all at the same time. And if they did all need them all at the same time, they'd probably want a unified cast anyway, because it means something really big is happening. And so, a lot of times it seems like you could almost split that up, where you had, a larger staff that's shared by a bunch of folks, that kind of just supports everybody's broadcast, and then it's just more of a scheduling thing.
Well, and we do that now because we have regional incident management teams. So all of us as a director are on a regional team, and we'll help our other counties. So if a tornado strikes the county north of me, I'm going and I'm bringing, they know, okay, Keenan's coming. He's bringing IT, he's bringing video gear. He's doing that part of the house. Somebody else is bringing in comms. Somebody's bringing radios. So we all kind of converge on the county that needs help. So we've already talked about that. And I've told them that I'll produce their show for them. They just need to get an iPad in their truck and drive around, and I'll brand it to their, and that's the neat thing with StreamYard. I can change the branding to any county I'm working with and have it all pre-built. So they've really thought that through, that, okay, that you have multiple clients, but for office hours, you guys have hundreds of clients. You could build brands for XYZ client and have it ready to go on the stream.
Right.
So there's some real cool advantages to the way StreamYard is built, and they're pretty new to the market. So it's been revolutionary because we've looked at other companies, and these guys just seem like they had it was the most polish.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Go ahead, John.
Hey, Keenan, great stuff. I could barely see your map when you brought it up. Is Danville one of the cities in your county?
No, Danville is actually 2.5 hours southwest down by Champaign-Urbana.
Right,
I'm right on Interstate 80, basically from the Quad Cities to Chicago. My county is split in half by Interstate 80. So, but Danville might
have Chicago.
I'm an hour and a half from Chicago.
Right.
So, and we're right on Interstate 80. So all the bad people that want to go do stuff in Chicago drive through our county, is what we say.
All right. Yeah, let's go to the next question.
And I apologize. That was Skywarn that I messed up for those of you who are listening. So if you're looking for it online, Alex 40 Goldner in London says, where would I find a site that distributes the design graphics to brand super source layouts?
So if you're on the StreamYard website, they have a area or a tab called partners. And there's people that have partnered with StreamYard and create templates. And actually the gentleman's giving a lot of them for free. We paid for some of the templates that I think it was $50 US for the template package for all of everything I did. And it basically just took the guesswork out of me laying out, where is the video window? How is that? He already built this for us. So it was a really neat thing. StreamYard.com is their website. And then they have their partners.
Next question.
John Idelson, our friend from Monterey, California. What would you think about building in something like this? And he has right apart. There's a big rapid responder, get help quicker URL that I didn't look at.
Say it again.
It says rideapart.com. And then that's the website main URL.
It's hard. It's hard when we get questions with links.
It's a long click-on thing.
We can't. We can't usually. Whoa, that's a little rapid responder. It looks like a little motorcycle, that like a three-wheeler. That looks like it's very much designed for some sort of broadcast there. So it'd be hard. The problem with that one was it wouldn't be very good in the snow. It'd be very
the guy might get a little cold in Illinois.
Yeah, that'd be really cold.
Yeah,
that's really good for California. It's great for California. All right. Next question.
Michael Sweeney of Chicago says, how do you monetize your mobile studio? You're not trying to, really, are you?
Actually, so for us, we're county government.
Taxes.
So we have a responsibility to the citizens to teach them how to self-solve. I can't solve every problem that you have as a citizen. So generator safety, things like that. So as part of our public outreach campaign, I don't want a fire truck to have to go rescue you because you decided to drive down this road to go buy groceries. When I told you 3 hours ago, by 4 o'clock, you need to have your groceries. So it's kind of a twofold. It prevents people from getting into trouble and getting caught in the snow or caught in a hurricane. It can work for any natural disaster. But we want to teach the citizen that the government, we can't. There may be times you'll hear it on the hurricane briefings. If you don't leave now, we may not be able to rescue you. And that's pretty hard language. And people sometimes get upset about that language, but it's true. I can't send a fire truck out if he can't drive down a road that's got 7-foot drifts on it. So we're using it as not only public outreach, but Alex was right. The people see that on my video and go, oh, that does look pretty bad. Oh, look, he turned around because he doesn't want to go down that road. Well, and people see that and they go, oh, it really is bad. Okay, I think I'll stay home. But without that ground truth, they don't believe it sometimes. And I you know what, I'll never understand people. You know, I'm in this business, so I understand risk management, but some people will go and, oh, the interstate doesn't look too bad, I'll go. And then they get stuck. Well,
right.
So it's just another tool in the toolbox to say, hey, stay home, please.
Well, and one of the things that, I mean, obviously we've learned here at office hours and is the repetition. So the fact that you're doing it all the time, what happens is that viewers slowly over time learn that you're there, learn that when there's something going on, I can tune into this. I can open the app, I can tune into a stream, I can go to the Facebook, I can go to Facebook, I can go to whatever I want to do to figure it out. But it doesn't, the hardest time to do that is the only time that there's an emergency. It's really hard to get people to even know where to go. So by having this kind of constant contact with audio, with video, social, so on and so forth, you're kind of building a muscle for the citizenry to know, oh, that's, and by making it cool and making it interesting and making it something, it gives them a reason to do it, and gives them a reason to engage. I just think it's a really exciting initiative that you're doing there. As far as we don't see, we don't see the government doing groundbreaking things very often anywhere. So it's exciting when you see something that's truly a creative solution that is useful. Go ahead, Keenan.
Well, and the thing is, we drive them to our Facebook page. We want them as a viewer. We want them to follow us to get good information. Pictures and posts, they don't excite you. People just don't jump on it and go, hey, look, oh, he posted a picture. No, but when it says Bureau County EMA is live, oh, what's going on? They're live. There has to be something exciting. What is he doing? And then they see me driving around and they're like, oh, this is really cool. And oh, wait, I can comment on it. And my comment shows up on the screen. It's kind of like you and the kids with TikTok. They love it.
And to your point, when you have the quality that broadcast goes, oh, that's an easy piece of content for us to throw in, it then amplifies the message that you're trying to tell, as opposed to what other messages might be bouncing around. And so it definitely, again, we get back to what I was talking about earlier, that quality means authority, quality means distribution, quality means all of those things that helps get that message out. Go ahead, Bill.
Well, and there's also, there is a problem with people being trustworthy. And, if you're saying I'm at the corner of this highway and this interstate, and you're showing a live thing, and they're going to start to understand, oh, it's not somebody's opinion. This is what the intersection looks like. And I can't get through that intersection. And I don't care how much you tell me about it. I'm seeing it. That's real. Okay, I'll buy that.
Next question.
Nick Pavelnek, that's right. I'm sorry, Southeast Michigan. Can you give us a ballpark figure on what it costs to get your current rig up and running?
So it literally is a lapel mic and a Pulson, I think, was under $100. The MacBook Pro was the most expensive part, but it doesn't have to be a Mac. It can be a Windows PC. Internet in your vehicle, be it a jetpack, a hotspot, tethering, however you do it, and a Brio. So there's absolutely nothing proprietary. And then the StreamYard Pro version was $250 a year, but I think you can pay that monthly also. So we've really, under $500, and that's probably on the high side for everything but the laptop. And I think any laptop would really work. So to set this up, or an iPad, you can actually run the entire stream on the iPad and be the producer. I wouldn't recommend it, but my guys all come in with a 4G LTE iPad, and they're into the stream, and they could actually be the producer if I give them access to it. So
I do think an all-in-one install rig for someone not as technically adept as you are could go really well. Like if you built something that was this great, like you can just add it for your county vehicles. Someone could make a lot of money. That's all I'm saying. Like this is a big business. This is like a county by county business of, making all of the, and it makes a huge difference because it's a, it allows, because all of that, as these news things are happening, especially something that happens nationally, suddenly you have local on the ground, broadcasts that are available to everyone. So it's
and I'm really impressed on how the big media picks it up and grabs
Yeah.
it. Once the affiliate takes it, then all of a sudden I was getting calls from, they were calling it the Facebook Live road check.
Yep.
And it went nuts that all these affiliates grabbed it, and then all of a sudden National's pulling it, and I got a call from New York from a show caller or a talent.
Yep.
I don't know.
Everyone's trying to fill content.
And the guy's like, "Hey, can we interview you?" Yeah, sure. Why not? And when they heard how simple it was, he's like, I don't know. And he kind of stayed away from it because I don't have the ATEM mounted in the car. But we've done other press conferences for other counties where I've actually put our drone up, piped the drone into the ATEM Mini, and while they're doing the press conference, did an overhead cut of the drone looking at the press conference, and the news media went crazy. Like, how do you get this content? And I'm sitting in my trailer doing the switch with the ATEM. Was
it like a little Mavic that you had up there?
No, it was a Matrice 210.
Oh, nice. Nice.
A big, so we actually have
That's
5 drones.
Big bird. Wow.
Yeah. We have 5 of them. We were the first county to have a drone in the state also. We started with a Phantom, went to the Mavic Enterprise Dual, and now we have a Matrice as well as, so my Tahoe right now has 3 drones in it with a Mavic Mini, a Matrice, and a Mavic Enterprise, depending on what the mission is. And the whole, I didn't show you the back of my truck, but it's actually got a 32-inch TV with a Hyper Deck Blackmagic video deck in the back.
Oh, yes, please. Yes, please
so
show us.
I'll have to post that picture in Discord because I don't have any way to do it right now.
Yeah, that's great.
So, but I can actually run the production out of the back of the Tahoe.
And the thing that I think it really points to is that I think that you are coming from the future of when everyone considers this kind of a basic, you're just way out in front of everyone else, but you're pointing to something that it is so important to be able to communicate this. And it's not something you have to go to, you didn't have to go to some video school or USC to do. These tools are everywhere now. They're not that expensive. They're available everywhere, but people have to be using them. And again, you're going to get more exposure. You're going to be able to communicate more effectively because you're using them. It's just genius. Sky?
Actually, I started in this industry in the news. And so following a car chase with a helicopter in Los Angeles was almost, like, okay, it's 10 o'clock. We have to do this. So I guess my challenge is the sensationalism versus journalism. And I love that you are informing, encouraging, and inspiring people to solve their own problems. I really love that. I also know that everybody loves a train wreck. Consequently, how do you balance your excitement versus the information? And that's, I get how cool a train wreck is. We love watching a fire. I don't understand it, but I'm just challenged by the journalistic news that you're giving versus.
So are you saying that you hope I wreck my car while I'm live?
No.
I know, but I'm just teasing.
But you've got great tools, and again, the journalists are now hampered with, they are now the producer, the writer, the director, and the camera person because these big corporations come in and.
Well, but I think the other question though is that when all these tools become more available, when they, I think that journalists definitely have an important place to just, to talk through those things. But I do think that if I'm going to watch a video, I'd rather oftentimes watch it from the person who knows about it than someone who was sent out to cover it.
Thank you.
And so I think that, having Keenan show me what the road conditions are like in a lot of ways to me has more authority than sending, somebody out from Chicago to cover something, I think
we saw that in the Iraq war when the guy was getting his feed from New York being told what was happening next door to him.
Right.
Yeah.
Next
and
question.
so here's the back of my Tahoe for,
That's
so
great.
There's the Mavic in there. You can see the Blackmagic video deck. So we do this for a couple reasons. When I fly a drone for a sensitive law enforcement mission, chain of evidence is I don't want that video. So I actually record it to an SD card and I look at the officer in charge and I say, eject card 1. They walk away with the video and I don't retain any of it.
Right.
So it's got my radios, it's got everything, but I could actually put the ATEM and switch a show from the back of my truck.
Now, it says uplink. Does it have a satellite uplink?
It does. I have 2.
The KA or KU?
It's a Coden. I think it's a K. It's a little tiny thing, Alex. I'd have to look it up.
Yeah.
Cool. So we clamp that on and point it out, so I can
That's great.
uplink it. The feed is not great, but it's enough to get video out.
That's great. Next question.
Comes to us from Courtney here on the panel in Hollywood. Do you have any way to bring in county traffic cams, if you have them, to show other areas where you're headed or traffic conditions in other weather affected areas?
Okay, so that actually just came up last night in one of our planning meetings. I have a network of our cameras throughout the county. We were talking about adding that computer in as a presenter or adding it in as another person. The only issue would be I would have to have the camera fixed. It's a grid view, so I'd have to either zoom in on one camera, make it full screen. We would, unless we had somebody sitting here switching it, I couldn't go between those cameras from my truck. But I could set that up before I left on my Mac Mini, have the county camera up, have it in the Stream Deck or StreamYard already, and cut to it as an actual another camera live. So yes, that'll be revision 2. We're going to play with that, as well as bringing in other people to have 3 or 4 camera shots, because our county's 900 square miles. So there's no way I could physically drive it in a winter storm. So I need to have those people already pre-positioned with an iPad or a camera setup to be able to go live to them.
Next question.
Jason Albuquerque is look at the marketing potential. I understand the government agency not wanting to take corporate sponsorship. Might I suggest making the hood available for government PSAs? The budget's already allocated for media outreach.
That's good. That's good.
He's really not going to let go of that hood until
he just sees it as like, look at the opportunity. Like it's just sitting right there. Like you got to put something there. He just wants to fill it up. There's empty space. Sometimes, Jason, it's just white space that you need there, or in this case, hood space.
I think I'm gonna green screen, put some green screen vinyl on it one day, and we'll play with that.
Yeah, exactly. Next question.
John Idelson in Monterey is back with, have you thought about setting up a network of emergency production services for a group like Community Emergency Response Team, CERT, countywide broadcast?
So we already do that. We have our TV studio here. We do the PSAs. We're working on 30-second PSAs. The big one right now is don't run your generator in a garage. I don't know why that's an issue. I don't use charcoal grill to heat your house. Please, folks, please. Half the time I look at stuff and I'm like, I can't say it the way I want to say it. So I have to. It's kind of like when you have the client on comms and you're sitting there, Alex, going, oh, I really need to say this, but I can't because the guy's right over there. So that's been the hardest thing. Sometimes you just clean your car off, use your turn signal. There's so many things that you'll hear me kind of soapbox when I'm driving. Like, why is it only a 4-inch square of your windshield scraped off? How much time does that take?
Next question.
Also, it comes from John Idelson. Have you been in contact with, and this Home Stringer, STRINGR.com, a web app that hires stringers to feed video to broadcast news stations?
I have not. This is only exists just for us, and I wanted to share it for the good of the group here, because I honestly, guys, I'm not as good as I would be if it weren't for all of you, because I've thrown hundreds of questions into office hours for the last 6 months, and I met a lot of you guys because of it. But I can sit back and just be a listener, and I learn things. And that's why if I teach other counties, and I'll give this to anybody that wants to, we do consulting, and we all help. So
it's great. Well, bring more of them. Bring more folks that are interested in video from the counties. We'd love to have them. All right, next question.
Mickey M in the Philippines, of course, says, how are you powering everything? Did you have to beef up your car alternators?
So the police Tahoes come with 2 batteries pre-installed. And if I can, I'm trying to airdrop stuff to myself, so I can show you how the vehicle actually has 2 inverters on it. So give me 1 second, and I can get this pulled up.
And while you're
here.
looking it up, Jason's in right after that with how many amps is your inverter pushing. So I don't know if you want to handle both of those after you get them up.
And Mark Hadley had how much power is in the truck. So all 3 of these are all about power. They're like, what? How is he doing that? So
okay, so it surprisingly doesn't use much power at all. Let me pull my video up that and I'm switching between 2 computers, so I'm not as good as you guys because I have 2 different desks.
You're doing great.
So the vehicle, has, and let me switch over. There we go. So on the side of my console, there's a inverter plugged in. It's like a 250 watt inverter. And then I use these HyperJuice USB-Cs to the MacBook. And then there's a hub. So it's really running off of the GM OEM inverter on the vehicle. The back case has a 2500 watt inverter, but the vehicle comes with dual batteries already pre-built from GM. So I don't have to, we didn't have to upgrade any power systems because this is a government Tahoe. They come differently from the factory. Like I don't have a console and I had to put this plastic console in. We mounted the laptop to it. So, but that's all that runs it is 100 watt HyperJuice, runs the MacBook, the Brio, the microphone, and that's it.
That laptop support arms looks like a beast.
That's actually called hint mounts, and it bolts through. So the console is plastic. It's 1/2 inch thick plastic, which I'm not a fan of metal. So when we came up with this console, it was plastic, and I couldn't believe it because it just really is solid, and it's 4 bolts through that. And then the mount can swing out of the way, adjust how we want. So it's worked out pretty well.
Interesting. Next question.
The last one we have in our queue here is from Joshua Kuhn of Spartanburg, South Carolina. Have you set up stationary cameras like traffic cameras for known shots at known landmarks or major intersections that maybe get snowed in?
So we do. Yes. Throughout the county, I have camera networks. We use Ubiquiti, and we have a WAN network using the air fiber to different parts of the county. We're actually expanding that network with our sheriff. He wants to have them at every major intersection of the interstate. So the biggest problem is getting internet to those sites. So we're going to use the Ubiquiti air fiber and build out our WAN network. But you're right. The next live video we do will have static cameras at different locations in the county put in.
That's great. Courtney?
Do you have, maybe I missed it in your description, do you have rally lights or anything along the top of the roof to give you extra lighting for those night shots where you're driving around?
So I don't. I actually am just using the headlights, but all of my warning lights that are the red and blues, they all turn to a solid white. So a 360 around the truck, I can actually turn the truck to be solid white at different points. So if I needed more light, I could make that happen.
That's great. Keenan, thank you so much. It's so great to have you. It's such a cool concept. And so just really excited to have you here. Thank you for showing off what you're built here. And I'm so glad that this is making a difference, that office hours somehow impacted, what you're doing, and just love to see it. And hopefully the idea is, you've learned a couple things here, then you flush it all back in here, and then people here will go out and do other things with that. I know that, again, I've been inspired. I'm going to start putting mobile. I'm going to start small, but I have a feeling that this will grow. There's going to be questions that I'm going to have for everybody. Like, how do I mount, pinpoints, into a Dodge Caravan, because it's an old car. So I was like, I can just start drilling into it if I want to. So I'm going to, start thinking about that, about what it would take to kind of mount a bunch of things in there to have kind of a mobile kit. So, I might be pinging you, Keenan, for
sure. Yeah, my car is a 2020, so we didn't drill anywhere into it yet. Just the antennas on the roof, and that was about it.
Mine's a 2014 with a lot of miles, so I can do whatever I want. So anyway, so thank you so much. Thanks again to everyone. It was great to see Tyler and Ken, who are new. Thank you guys for coming. It's great. I can't wait. I mean, can't wait to have you contributing. And so please come back. Please come back and join us. It was really really good to see you there. So welcome. And I want to thank everybody. That was a lot of questions. We were burning through those questions today, and it's just a little bit of a pump. We had a couple more people this time than most. And so you can see how that, and for the panelists, it's important for us to understand that we're going to have to step up our game, so we have to be, we have to keep on getting more fast and accurate. So anyway, so thank you all for asking great questions. Thanks to the panel for keeping up with everybody and dropping down some good answers. And we're going to start the post show. And otherwise, a reminder, we're going to do this all again tonight. So 6 o'clock, we'll do it again. I am going to open it up. I don't want to step on, there's the AV Tech show that's happening. So Ed Willick does that, and I think that there's a link inside of Discord. So go to his show. For some of the panelists, just know that I'm probably going to open up at 5:45 because we just need a little more time to let people settle in. But we'll still start. The actual show will start at 6:30, and then we'll. But so if you want to come, but if you want to be a panelist, you still have to be here by 6:10. So 6:10 is so we're kind of in this weird offset. I might figure this out a little bit more as we move forward, but that's what we're working on tonight. And then we will be doing another Clubhouse on Wednesday. Go ahead, Mickey.
Are you doing a Clubhouse as well tonight?
I probably will stream it to Clubhouse as an experiment. Yep. And then so you can listen to it. Yeah, Mickey, you can listen to it while you're working or walking or whatever you're doing there. So and so we'll put it to Clubhouse tonight, and then we may test it tonight with this. I'm going to try to get it set up. It'll be tonight or tomorrow that we'll start testing the idea of streaming to YouTube. I'll tell you guys what the link is. I'm not going to publicize it too much, of this kind of idea of streaming from our elemental links to YouTube. It's kind of step one in doing something more complicated. All right. Now I'm going to jump into the Bo show. Thanks, Keenan. Thanks, everybody.